John was the best-looking boy in school. He had good friends and never had any problems with girls. He went to the 11th grade and took his studies seriously. His father wanted to send him to study in England on the condition that he would successfully pass all the exams. So from the very first school days, John began to sit behind the books and go to tutors. Several people in the class were new, and the guy had not yet had time to get acquainted with them. One day, Cindy, the new girl, sat down with him, and she immediately had her eye on John. No one talked to her because of her terrible appearance. She had crooked teeth, unkempt hair, smelled of something nauseating, and dressed ridiculously. Cindy was called a scarecrow because of her hideous appearance. The boy tried not to socialize with her, but she was annoyingly interrupting him from solving problems and test essays, trying to make conversation. John explained to her nicely to get her off his back, and for a while it helped. At the end of the first quarter, John was the top student in the class. On the eve of the first vacation, the school was having its fall prom, and all the guys were in suits and the girls in dresses. But not Cindy. She came in worn jeans and a gray sweatshirt, which is how she had been going to school for the past 2 months. John decided to ask his friend Ashley to dance, but as soon as he took a step toward her, Cindy appeared and forcibly grabbed his hand and led him to the floor for a slow dance. All the classmates and other kids from parallel classes were looking at them and whispering. John noticed it. He knew that after the dance there would be various rumors, and he didn't like that prospect. After waiting for the dance to end, he quickly left the auditorium to go to the restroom for a smoke. Breathing in the tobacco smoke, he was able to calm down. His best friend Michael came in and took out a cigarette and lit it too. "She's standing outside the door," he said. "I'm not surprised. Dude, you gotta do something about this. There's already gossip about you two." John took a drag and closed his eyes and said, "That dance was awful. She smelled like a dumpster." Michael laughed, but advised his friend to solve his problem before it ruined his reputation, and left John alone. John decided to get rid of Cindy once and for all by having a serious conversation. Coming out of the restroom, the guy noticed that Cindy was already waiting for him with a wide smile. The young man offered to walk her home, and she agreed with wild delight. Cindy lived on the next street, and as they walked, John tried to find words, but nothing came to mind. "Would you like me to show you my favorite place?" he asked. "Yes," she said hurriedly, and they went into the next doorway. Having reached the attic, they climbed out on the roof and, walking on it, looked at the city, which was illuminated by the light from the windows of apartments. Finally, John started the conversation. "Cindy, this school year is important to me. My future depends on it. Now I want to finish my studies and take my exams in peace, and I don't want you to bother me with your attention. I also want you to sit apart from me, or, if you want, I'll move myself, but just leave me alone." He looked at her, expecting a response, but she stared at him almost unblinkingly. "Did you hear what I said?" "No." John closed his eyes and sighed heavily with hopelessness. Cindy put her arms around him and said, "We'll always be together, and you won't have another one. Never. You won't go to England. I'll do anything to keep that from happening. You and I are forever. Forever." That was the word that made the guy envision his horrible future with her. Cindy was still going on about their happy life together, but John couldn't take it anymore. He took her by the shoulders and started shaking her. "Shut up. There's not going to be an us. I'll be on my own and you'll die alone. No, we'll be together." After he said that, he shoved her away from him, and Cindy tripped over the brick threshold and lost her balance. John ran to the edge. Cindy's body was barely visible in the darkness. He quickly climbed down and approached the girl. She was lying dead with her head bashed in and a pool of blood forming underneath her. He crouched down beside her on the ground. There was no one around to help. Looking at his blood-stained hands, he realized that he had completely redrawn his life. The boy ran from the park. At home, while his parents were away, he washed the blood off himself and waited for the doorbell from the police, but there was none. The next morning, he went to the internet to find information about the girl's death, but there was nothing there either. After sitting at home for the vacation, he went to school early with a stone on his soul. When he entered the classroom, he was speechless. Sitting at his desk was Cindy as if nothing had happened, and her head was fine. They were alone in the classroom. "I mean, Your head was busted. John couldn't believe the fact that someone could survive falling from the height of a 12-story building. I was given a chance. Her eyes were still looking at John in love. I'm sorry I almost got you killed. No, you don't have to apologize now. Let's you do it on the roof. John was a little surprised, but he had no right to refuse. After class, they went to the roof, the very place where everything had happened a week ago. Now you can ask for it. Cindy stood with her back to John and looked out over the city. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for what happened. But I don't want you prying into my life. Say it to my face. John stood in front of her and repeated it word for word. Is that it? She asked. Yes. The girl shoved him hard and John flew down with a scream. Cindy walked over, stood on the edge of the roof and looked at the boy's body. It was lifeless. Then she shifted her gaze to the sky and said quietly, "Thank you for giving me a chance to take him with me." With those words, she stepped forward.